What's up, everybody? Dr. Coach Kelly here, physical therapist, high school soccer and basketball coach. And today I want to talk to you about what happens when I speak up. So in our last video, we talked about 3 ways to prevent and reduce preseason injury risk. Those ways were to prepare, to recover appropriately, which included sleep, fueling, and hydrating the proper ways. And then the last thing was to speak up. So I want to talk about what we do when a player or an athlete speaks up, okay? So they come over to me, usually pretty shortly after something happened. Either they felt a pull or a twist or a pain somewhere. Maybe they got hit by a ball in a funny way, and they know something isn't right. So they speak up, which is exactly what they should be doing, okay? Typically, and every case is different, but typically, I give them one of 4 options when something happens, right? If it's a muscle pull, if it's an ankle sprain, things like that are not, we need to go to the emergency room, let's get out of here, types of things that are more, less severe in nature, right? So, one of 4 things happens, and I want you guys to look at this graph that I drew up here, right? This axis is time, this axis is recovery, or how you're feeling. So, 4 options, and I let the players decide which one, and I explain it to them in this way because I want them to know that they have options. A lot of kids don't know it, okay? So there's 4 options, okay? Option 1 is you play through it, okay? If it's an ankle sprain, if it's a muscle pull, they decide, you know what? I can play through it. It's gonna go away. It's gonna go away. I've been there, I've done it. It's probably not going away, guys. It's probably not going away. So with that, what happens with that is they think I can play through it, it's gonna be fine. So I check on them the next day, and I'm like, how is it? And they're like, it's a little worse. Okay, and I'm like, are you sure you wanna play through it? Yeah, it's fine, I can do it. Okay. Next day, how is it? It started to hurt when I was doing warm-ups. When did it hurt yesterday? It hurt like half an hour into practice. Okay, so now it's hurting you sooner in the workouts rather than later, which is an indicator that the tissue is not getting better, the tissue is actually getting worse, okay? Eventually, it gets to the point where they can't wake up, they can't get out of bed without this thing bothering them, right? And then then you don't have a choice anymore, right? Then it's a trip to the doctor's office, then it's you're out of soccer or football or lacrosse or whatever you're playing for a set amount of time while we have to let this tissue heal. You don't get a choice in the matter anymore, okay? But that's option 1. Option 1 is play through it. They usually don't pick option 1 once I explain it to them that way, okay? Option 2, okay, is total rest. Okay, they come over, say, Coach Kelly, this is bugging me, this started to hurt. I say, okay, option 2 is we can totally rest it. I can send you home right now, we can put some ice on it, and we'll keep you out of soccer for a couple of days. Let's let that thing heal by itself. Let's hope that it heals by itself, and you can come back in a couple of days. Now, they don't like that option either because they can't play. They're all out here to be playing and be around with their friends and to be exercising. They don't like option 2 because they can't play. I like option 2 because it's not going to further aggravate their injury. You're going to see my favorite option is option 4 down here. But that's another option, is we totally, completely rest you. You don't get to do anything. You're not even walking on the track on the sidelines, right? It's total, complete, shutdown rest, okay? Usually doesn't have to get that extreme, but it's an option, okay? Option 3 is we modify and we treat, okay? So I'll explain this one to you, right? So recovery and time on playing through it pretty quickly, you are going to get progressively worse. If you complete rest it pretty slowly, you're going to get progressively better. Okay, with modify and treat, it kind of goes like this. It goes this up-down pattern of eventually getting better, eventually. So option 3, I tell them, is we can modify what you're doing at practice, right? We can put you in some drills, we can take you out of some drills, we can modify the intensity that you're going at in a drill. I can tell you to go 50%. Don't push yourself too hard with this one. The coaches will understand because you're a little bit handicapped with that injury, that it's okay to modify what you're doing in practice. As long as coach knows, as long as it's okayed by the training staff and everybody is on board and on the same page, we can modify the intensity of your practice and the activities that you're doing in practice. Okay, so if there's a quad pull and team's going to run 2 miles or a mile or however it's going to be, they plank instead of further aggravating their quad by running, or there's plenty of other exercises that they can do to maintain their stamina that don't further aggravate that injury, right? So we modify what it is that they're doing at practice, okay? But modifying it will only get us so far. So what'll happen, right, is if you have an injury and you play on it, you're gonna feel a little worse the next day, okay? If you can continue to play on it, which is option 1, you're gonna continuously feel worse. If we modify what you're doing at practice so it hurts a little bit less, and then we treat it, it gets a little bit better. But then you go play on it the next day, and so it gets a little worse. But then we treat it again, and it gets a little bit better. While we're modifying the things in practice and treating it, we will get on this upward trend of eventually pain-free, fully functional, back to baseline, or even what should be happening is back to baseline and beyond, because baseline is where you got hurt. Okay, so we have to get people better than where they started at. Okay, because where they started at was where they got hurt. So that's option 3. Okay, and option 4 is we rest it and we treat it. Okay, so we modify, we take them out of sport, right? We take away the aggravating factor. We give them other activities to do that are not aggravating, right? Which usually is not really sport specific. It can be, but usually it's more therapeutic exercise, that type of stuff, that more realm. And we treat it, right? Sometimes they need manual therapy. Sometimes they need other modalities to help them start to feel better. That's the fastest way that we can get on that upward trend. But players often don't like that option because they have to rest and sit out and they can't be out there with their team. So I want you guys to know that there are options. I don't know anybody else that goes through this with an athlete, especially right after they get hurt. And it gives them the option to choose which of these they'd like to do. I just lay it out there. I make my suggestions, but I put it on them, and if they want me to, I'll talk to mom and dad. I have no problem doing that. But it's really important to know that there's choices, okay? And it's really empowering as an athlete to go, you know what, I'm choosing to rest it and treat it. Or, you know what, I'm choosing to play through it. And I know it might not get better, and I'm willing to risk that, right? But recognizing that it's a choice and that you don't have to, right? That's empowering. So, if you guys enjoy this, if you think you know somebody who might benefit from it, please feel free to share it out with them. If you want me to cover something specific or you want me to dive into more of these, I'm so happy to do so. Just drop it in the comments below, and I will be sure to go over that for you. And until next time, guys, make it a great day. Have an awesome one.